But before we get into the AGM procedure, I just wanted to say a couple of things. Because the first thing in the procedure is that the current committee steps down and we go through a process of electing the new committee. And that's a process that we'll get into in a moment. Before we do, as the retiring president, I wanted to read you, mainly because my memory isn't good enough, the annual report. So I'll do that. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, good. I'm sorry if this sounds a bit formal. It's not likely to be too formal. The AGM President's Report for 2004. July 2023 to June 2024 has been a very challenging year for the oldest bonsai club in Australia. Firstly, finding a suitable venue to hold our monthly meetings with adequate space and the necessary facilities and the on-site parking was not easy. Being located in the inner city area means that the number of suitable venues is very limited. But we did manage to find one, this one. And having been recently refurbished, it's been more than a suitable meeting place. And since moving here in April this year, I think has been very popular with everybody. The normal cost of renting this space would normally be beyond the financial capability of the club. But because the management of the Beach RSL were able to give us a grant, it meant that we could use it. However, a couple of months ago, they informed us that the current grant runs out at the end of their financial period, which is the end of August. I was actually hoping it would be the end of the calendar year, and I was even hoping more that it might be a year from when we started, which was April. So we had to reapply. We reapplied, and as recently as yesterday I got an email to say we had been unsuccessful in our application. I had to pick myself up off the floor when I read it, but consequently this is likely to be our last meeting in this location after 5 meetings, which I can tell you personally is very disappointing. Because of the short notice of this, as I say, I only got that email yesterday, we, as of yet, haven't found an alternative venue. But we will, and we will advise you in whatever suitable form as soon as we do know. Just continuing with the report, in February this year, the committee presented its vision for the club to the members. And for those who are here, you might remember that some of the key points of that vision were that we set some objectives to become a sustainable 50-person club by the end of 2025, to find accommodation to suit that number of people, and to be recognised as a premier bonsai club in Sydney for both the quality of meetings, the standard of training, and the participation and enjoyment of members. And I think most people that heard that vision presented approved of it. A further objective was to have our own bonsai show by the end of 2025. And with that in mind, the committee put together a program which has been printed in every newsletter, and so I'm not going to repeat it here, but it's hopefully one that meets the likings of all members. Attracting new members is always a problem for all clubs, but an indication of the success that we've had so far in Sydney City Bonsai Club is that in July 2023, the number of financial members we had was 20. In June 2024, in other words, the end of that financial year, the number of financial members were 48. So we did grow. Now, there's always natural fallout. Not everybody rejoins, so, but I thought that was a rather pleasing result. We had some new members join as a result of visiting the Royal Easter Show, so that was a very successful thing. In past years, we'd have been lucky to get one new member. This time we got 4, and some of them, I'm not checking, but some of them are here tonight. During the year, we had the organisation that hosts our website and our email system gave us notice that they were closing that service down and that we had to find alternative facilities. And our technical manager used to be Ed, who is here tonight, hasn't been for a few meetings, but is here tonight. And Ed was kind enough to volunteer to step in and help us out, even though he hadn't been to any of the meetings for some time. He very graciously gave a fair bit of time to help us do that. We've been operating on a new host called Host Hopper for the past 2 months without any incidents. And as a small token of our appreciation, we are awarding Ed honorary membership for 2024-25. Now, I'm just stepping out of the report for a second because I spent a lot of time this afternoon printing a certificate. I've just spent about 20 minutes trying to find it. I'm positive I put it in my briefcase, but I cannot find it.
I believe you.
So, Ed, in recognition of your effort, congratulations. And I sincere thank you, because without you, we would have been in a real pickle. So thank you for that. Now to continue with the report. I thought it was worthwhile outlining some of the challenges that the club faces. One will be pretty obvious, and that is that the venue is now the top of our priority. It was quite a challenge to get this venue earlier in the year when we were looking for a better venue. So now we're back to square one. You'll be kept informed of progress there, but we have to find something before our next meeting in September. I've put the committee down as a challenge, but please let me explain. 6 of the current members of the committee have been in the committee for over 8 years and served various roles, but it shows the level of commitment and dedication of those people to the club. But I think it, as well as being a very positive point, it's also a very vulnerable point, because without new blood coming into the committee, the club cannot do the sorts of things we want to do. Some of those members, 3 of those existing committee members, have already indicated that for personal reasons and health reasons, they cannot continue to give the same level of effort and time that they do currently to the committee. So we need new blood in the committee. I've made the comment at several meetings in the past, and it's a very opportune time to make the statement because of the AGM being tonight. And when I finish this short report, we'll get stuck into that. But it seems to me that without new members coming into the committee, the club will not continue on the path to reach its vision that we would like it to. So I'm making an appeal that if you would like to help ensure the survival of the club, then think about joining the committee. Another challenge is the basic training. I think we've now had 18 sessions, and I think it's been very successful and hugely responsible for a lot of the growth in the club. And judging by the comments from the students, the members that have joined in, it's been very good. At the end of last year, at the end of the first year of training, we did an evaluation, and of all of the participants then, we got 10 out of 10, which unanimously. So I thought that was a pretty good indication of the success of the training. But the ongoing challenge is that, in two parts, is we will need more students, new students coming on board to do that. And of course, all these things are tied up. Without a permanent venue, it's going to be hard to attract new people. But we also need more of the experienced people in the club to come forward and start to do some of the training. Up until now, it's been largely Brian and myself who've conducted the training, and I know we're the best two to do it, but we're not the only two. Finally, to finish my report, just a couple of thank yous. The two life members that we have are Lee and Neville. I don't know, I haven't seen Lee tonight, I don't think she's here, but I just want to say that without your experience and your dedication and your leadership, the club wouldn't be what it is. So Neville and Lee, thank you very much. I also want to thank the committee, Brian, Chris, David, Ollie and Frank, for their ongoing support. And if you were part of the committee, and I hope some of you will be, you would understand how much effort they put in on an ongoing basis, very selflessly. Many people have commented on the new look of the newsletter, and in addition to his role as Vice President, Ollie has done a superb job in giving the newsletter a facelift. I used to think it was good as it was, but now I know how much better it could be, that Ollie has, the work that Ollie's put into it. And I think a lot of people agree with that comment. So Ollie, thank you very much. We had two short-term committee members that I should acknowledge as well. Lee spent some 4 or 5 months on the committee as the program manager, and the visitors that we've had, the demonstrations and people that we've had and still coming, Gary Ubergang and the other one?
Yes,
Ingrid, thank you, in October, are because of the work that Lee did. So thank you, Lee. We also had Neville, who spent some time on the committee. If I can find my notes. I'm sorry, I said Neville. I mean Andrew. Andrew didn't spend a lot of time on the committee. He was there for a while, and I appreciated his contribution. And so, Andrew, thank you. Chris, behind the scenes, not many people even are aware of this, has been running a program called Bonsai Behind Bars at the Long Bay jail for some years. He does it himself. I know the program is well received there, and Chris deserves a lot of accolade for that program. In addition, ever since we started working with the Royal Agricultural Society and the Easter Show, Chris took over from Sue actually, and has been the key person in making sure that the club supports that. And it's probably one of the better known bonsai exhibitions in Sydney, and that's all due to Chris. In addition to Chris, there's been a number of volunteers help out over the years, but this year there were quite a few, and I thank them for volunteering. In the past couple of months, Toby has been videoing all of this, and I should be reading more carefully because I think he's videoing this session. If you haven't seen it, I recommend that you do look at it, because I think it's quite good. And it's particularly useful if you happen to miss a meeting. You can go back and look it up. I'm surprised how high quality, I shouldn't be surprised, but I'm pleased, what a high quality recording they are. So Toby, thank you. I've had quite a bit of pleasure serving as president for the last year with Sydney City Bonsai Club. I'm about to step down, but I wish the club, regardless of who's on the committee, all the success in coming years. So thank you all. I'm now going to call on Neville to preside over the AGM, and he will explain the process and what you need to do. Over to you.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, Neville.
Do I have to use this? Can you all hear me?
Yes.
I use it like
Tough. All right, as Returns Officer, I formally declare all positions on the committee of Sydney City Bonsai Club vacant. And before I proceed, I'd like to find out if there is any people who would like to volunteer to join the committee. Because as John is saying, we need new blood. We've got to get new blood onto the committee to help the existing committee members. So if anybody is prepared to nominate for, we're looking at President, Vice President, Treasurer and Secretary. They're the 4 statutory positions we're filling. The other positions can be appointed by those members to join the committee. So before I start, is there anybody who would be prepared to put their hand up to take on any of those positions?
Simon's thinking about it.
Yes? No?
Toby's thinking about it. He's got his hands there.
Who are you pointing at?
A grand total of 1.
Ollie is behind.
We have divided the roles up to suit the skills of the people involved. There are some statutory requirements, some statutory positions that Neville mentioned: President, Treasurer, Secretary and Vice President are the statutory roles that we have to elect. So we need candidates to fill those. But the committee members, Frank has been on the committee for how long? 8, 10 years? A long time.
Years, yeah.
And tends to take roles on as required. Ed used to be on the committee. Ed was a committee member, and his responsibilities back then was sort of technical manager, looking after the email system, and so it depends on the skills of the person concerned. Because I suppose what we're saying is there are a number of things that have to be done. We will try and match your skills to whatever has to be done, and if it means creating a title like technical manager or newsletter editor or whatever, whatever, we can do that. And hopefully that would lighten the load of those existing people, because all of the things that get done are done by effectively 4 people.
Thank you. All right. So I'm still waiting to see if anybody's going to put their hand up. You're going to put your hand up. What position would you like to apply for?
So in technical, you can do
So
newsletter.
on the committee, not one of the 4 positions, the President, Vice President?
Unsure.
Well, look, as a recommendation, if you're unsure, you can always join the committee this year and go along and then maybe say, oh, well, look, I'd like to be secretary, and team up with the current secretary and work together eventually to hand over to you.
Yeah, I guess
If you would
like to
prefer
know
that.
exactly what those roles entail, the President, Vice President, Secretary and Treasurer, what their responsibilities
Well, the
are.
President is basically, he's the face of our club.
Yep.
If
Or she.
anybody, I'm not an attractive face we've got. No, but if they're dealing with other clubs,
Yep.
other people,
I just thought you
public.
might like to know more about
Yeah,
that.
well, the treasurer is self-explanatory. They look
Yep.
after the money.
Yep.
The secretary takes the minutes, is responsible for all the
You're almost taking the minutes on
legal
video, yeah.
Correspondence.
correspondence, government department requirements, and the vice president is basically there to help the president. The vice president actually doesn't do a lot. But you're doing vice president and newsletter, you're doing a lot. But they're a support, and if the president isn't here, the vice president steps in and takes over, runs meetings, goes to other functions, etc. So that's how it all works. So Toby, if you think you'd like to join the committee and pal up with somebody and work through with them, that'd be great. But anybody for the 4 executive positions? No?
Same
No
position.
hand out of the-
Same position. as-
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, you gotta keep doing nothing.
All right, if that's the case, what we do now is John again has nominated that he is prepared to be president.
Yeah,
All those in favour?
Yes.
Right, done. Ollie has nominated that he's prepared to be vice president. Chris, Brian is, don't get shot. Brian has nominated that he will be treasurer again. So, and David, who unfortunately isn't here tonight, he's not well, has agreed to be secretary. So again, all required positions have now been filled, and I now call on the chairman, president, to take over the meeting.
Thank
Thank you. And thank you all for your vote of confidence. I'm not sure you know what you've let yourselves in for. I suppose on the point of whether you would like to join the committee, my suggestion would be you might think that you might want to have one of those positions and not sure, come into the committee, because you could understudy one of the existing people. As I've said, they've all indicated that they have to wind down their time involvement. There's always things to do, whether you take one of those statutory positions or just be a committee member in charge of something. Maybe you don't even need to sing out right now, but please come forward at this meeting or any time. The committee meets on the 4th Tuesday of each month, 2 weeks after this meeting. And so if you think that you might want to become part of a committee, a good opportunity would be to sing out, come to the next meeting, and we'll sort something out there. You probably noticed the lack of female participation in the committee. We were pleased to have Lee there for a short time, but her personal commitments prevented her from staying on. I think the committee would benefit from female membership, but I could say the same thing about the club. We would like to see more female members. I think it would add to the club. Okay. Now, I was going to hand this over to the new president, if there was one. Since there's not, I can read them out. There is a Canberra dig this Sunday. Could I ask a show of hands for who might be interested in going to the Canberra dig? So we've got 2, 3. Excellent. Ollie, can you coordinate it? I know you have been up until now, so if you're interested in going, make sure you tell Ollie before the end of tonight, because Canberra have very kindly agreed to accommodate us, but all they're asking is that we let them know who's coming. So do that. I went last year and I thought it was well worthwhile. If you're at all able to, I think it's a very good exercise. We were talking after Clinton was here last month. We were talking about maybe doing a visit to the Nesky nursery probably sometime around October, November timeframe. If we did such a thing, it would mean we've done similar nursery visits to Bonsai World up at Wyong area. I forget the name of it.
Gillaby.
Thank you, Gillaby. Who might be interested in going to the Neski nursery if we were to organise it around the October, November timeframe? Show of hands.
I'll have a half hand because I can't do October, but I can do November.
Okay, well, the dates, so we're talking about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 or 9. So about 10, because I would like to go too. So that's a 10 is a feasible number. So that
I just overheard Simon offering to do a talk while we were there.
excellent. Yeah. Well, he talks at all our functions. Yeah, I can't imagine getting to Neski Nursery without you, Simon. What else? Just a reminder that if you haven't paid your annual fees, they're now due. They're overdue, actually, but sing out if you haven't yet fixed it up. The theme of tonight's meeting is twists and turns, and all the trees behind me we'll get to later. But for those people who were at the last meeting with Clinton, you might recall that some of the trees that Neville and James brought were on their artificial rocks. And it surprised me somewhat that Clinton was surprised that they were artificial. That's how good they were. So if you can fool a master, then I thought it was perhaps worthwhile hearing a bit more about these artificial rocks. So James and Neville are going to do a little bit of a talk about how they come up with these things. So once they finish, we'll get back to the display trees. Perhaps just a reminder that we've got Gary Ubergang coming to the next meeting. It's just that we don't know where it will be yet.
Car park somewhere.
Or when it'll be.
Maybe a car park somewhere. Okay, James and Neville, over to you.
He's got a big shed.
Oh, just while they're coming, who brought these up? Somebody came up. Oh, Peter. Peter came across about a dozen chopsticks and thought that they might be useful for some people who need a chopstick. So they're there. Just take them if you are interested. All right. Yeah, you know.
Do you want plastic on these?
No, we're not doing. We're just talking. We're not doing anything.
Not doing the demonstration card.
Yeah. We can't do this sort of work inside because we use blow torches, etc.
And if you burn
the gas
these,
is
That's a good way to.
carcinogenic. So what we do when we're starting,
Just after that.
you end up with foam like this. It's got to be solid, and once you do that, you then think about what you want to build. You might want a tall rock for a cascade tree growing over a rock. You might want something thicker, and so according to that, we glue sheets together, and we use, what do we use, liquid nails?
no, liquid nails burns it.
The other one.
There's a tube that you can buy. It's called 3-in-1. It hasn't got glue in it, or you can use gap filler. Something that hold it together. So if you want, what I usually do, add that not adhesive, that gap filler or 3-in-1, and usually stick a skewer through them, just to hold them together. And that makes it a bit more solid, just to let actually hold. And once it'll hold, and then the next process actually makes it a lot stronger. You don't have to worry about it. Well, in the beginning we didn't know. We start using liquid nail. So we put liquid nail. We came the next day. There was nothing left of the styrofoam. Actually, everything disappeared. Yeah. So we start trying to find out something that hasn't got like a glue in it.
Solvent.
Yeah, solvent. So we found that there's things called 3-in-1 or the gap filler.
Is that a resin product, is it? Or?
No, it's just similar, like it's like a gap filler, you know, that looks like white stuff.
Yeah.
Have you tried
Like
wood
bond.
glues? Have you tried wood glue?
Burns it.
Burns it.
Any kind of glue that has, like Chris said, solvent. Like we had a massive rock, we were doing a project, massive, we glued it together, we came back the next day, it was just the corners left. The rest of it was all melted, yeah. So yeah, it's a process of, first like Neville said, if you got a tree, it's a lot easier to imagine what kind of rock I want on that tree. It's not like you make your rock and you're trying to choose a tree for it. It's going to be like trying to find the right tree. But if you've got a tree and you can imagine it on the rock, it's easier to design that rock to suit that tree. And you start off, for example, what we start up, like how do I want it? And you get a texture and you start marking it. Like you just start drawing on the rock where where all your cavities going to be, where the root's going to sit, and you start drawing it. And then once you start drawing it, the next process is we use but we use, so this is one with, it might looks, you know, like what are you going to do with these? So once you start applying, we use, for example, these old small torches. We got a foam burner, which is, I'm sure most of you guys seen what a foam burner is, like these.
It cuts through the phone.
Cuts through the phone, like access through the phone. Yeah, it's like a wire, and you just start shaping as much as you want. There's a long one, and there's another one that we've got here, just that goes a little bit thicker. So you shape it up as you want, and then the third thing we get it, after you do that, you shape it, we use this. But make sure when we use this, we've got a blower. Because when you start burning it, that takes off straight away. So use this, blow it up. Use this and trying to shape it. If it's a massive rock, but when it comes to small details, you want to do a little bit of more details, we use the smaller one, the cooking one. You just start burning slowly, trying to get the shape of it. You get through that, you'll end up with something like this. That's how it looks like. It's burned. So this literally was to be, we want it to be like a standing up sign, but it took off too quickly. But now you can still use it as a pot. You can actually plant trees in it. Once we add the third or the fourth step we do, we use the resin, epoxy hardener and resin, epoxy hardener and a tint. So the tint is a bit of a trick as well. You got to play around with it a little bit more, because if you want to, let's say if you want to get a grey rock, you say you mix white and black, becomes just too grey, becomes like a crayon kind of colour. And you add a little bit of brown, a little bit of what's to get the right colours. Because they get hardened so quickly, you do it in sections. So you mix up a little bit. We use brushes like normal paint brushes, like house brushes, but the smaller one. You brush it in before it dries. It's going to be up to you. Use river sand or you use beach sand mixed with like a little bit of pebbles, so that gives it an effect like it looks like a real rock.
Yes,
yeah. And then once it's all set and done, just leave it out in the wall. Leave it out in the sun, rain, everything's washed out by itself. When you water your trees, just keep watering it to get rid of any residues of chemical. And the rock's set, yeah. The thing is, they are really hard. They're absolutely hard, but they're very
Fragile in that
fragile
state.
in that state.
state.
Yeah. So if you leave it in the open, like nothing can happen to it. Rain, shine, anything. But if you bump it a little bit hard, it chips. It chips. After all this, that you get it. The result actually quite satisfying. That we went to Bonsai Open this year, and there was an actually nice setting of a tree sitting on the rock. And so I said to Neville, why don't we actually just imitate that? Neville's actually got some Kunzia seedling that has been growing for a long time. And we did one that actually, so that's the rock. We couldn't find a pot to fit it, so we made the pot as well.
So that's going to be
The setting that we're going for.
Kunzias.
Yeah. And you can see there's no holes in there, we just got to make it completely like a swamp. And the best thing you can do when you're doing the rock, put some eyelet in it. Eyelets. So what you do, you can tie it. If it's standing up like that, you can have your trees. You know how you tie your trees to the pot, stopping it from moving? So you could do the same thing. So if it's a high rock, you just imagine, that's what I say, if you've got the tree, you can imagine the rock for it, imagine where the root's gonna go, where the pockets of the root's gonna sit. You can insert eyelet in there. So when you put the tree in and tie it on it so it doesn't move. So the idea behind this one, we've got a couple of kunzis actually, is gonna go everywhere in the tree. And then most of it is gonna be covered with like moss, green moss. And the pot has the same thing, eyelet. So once we tie these into it, and it's going to be filled with soil and moss, you can hardly see it. Yeah, you can actually design any kind of rock that you want. I've got one planting junipers on it. No word of a lie, it's about this tall. It's about this wide. And I've got about 5-6 different pocket on it. And eyelet on it. So I've made a pot for it too. I've made a huge pot for it. And easy. You don't have to go and look for rock. I've got a couple of actually real, like trees on the real rock. They weigh a ton. But when you do it like this, it's feathers.
Do you need styrofoam boxes? Can I get rid of my
No,
styrofoam
these styrofoam
to use?
boxes aren't heavy enough.
Oh, so that's not styrofoam boxes.
These are refrigerating foams.
This is refrigerating foam.
Right.
These were other more solid foam that I found at a recycling centre.
Right.
That were
Oh,
thinner.
but there was a great way
Oh
to
yeah,
recycle
look,
our
we tried the
boxes.
boxes, but they melt when you
They
apply the heat to them.
disintegrate.
They just.
Do you know what I realised the best? The constructions one. Constructions use they're really thick, like they're really good and thick. You don't have to stick them. You don't have to like put together. You just get one piece, and yeah, just go with it. It's really good if you can get some
Is that the one that they use when they
lay that foundation.
concrete
Yeah.
floor ramps?
Yeah. When they start doing the foundation, they lay all the styrofoam. They're really good.
That's
They're
the
really,
stuff,
really
yeah,
good.
okay.
Yeah. The problem is I don't know where to buy them. I haven't found out where to buy them. The only thing we can find out, it was on that recycling centre we went. These are refrigerating, those big refrigerated rooms.
Oh.
They get dismantled.
Okay.
So there's an installation. That's an refrigerated installation. So that's, yeah. Unfortunately, sometimes you get to stick 2-3 together, and probably you'll end up about this big, and probably you're going to end up what 30-40% reduction of the foam by cutting it, shaping it, burning it. Yeah. But once you burn it, this is the effect of it. But one thing is, it's no matter how much you're going to do it, make sure you always got to wear a mask and wear a filtered mask. Not the one with the filters on it.
And the bright one as well.
Huh?
Chemical one.
Yeah.
Not a dust one.
So yeah, just no matter what, even if you wear those those normal masks, it goes through it. You can smell it straight away. Yeah. As I copped it this weekend, I was doing my driveway. I was sealing it, and for 2 days, I was doing it for 2 days. For 2 days, I was so high, I couldn't even move.
You're not selling those masks very well.
Those were like I wanted the
Sounds
other
like a
ones,
good day.
the small ones, because my mask, the one that we got with filtered, is at Neville's house.
Yeah, but you don't get high with them.
No,
So
you
keep
don't
the
get checked with
cheapies.
this one. But
Keep
my,
the
at
same.
my house, I didn't have the hospital ones.
Yeah.
I had this one. I
Doesn't
put it on.
do
I was
shit, no.
bloody hell. I was high as hell. Yeah. But yeah, this is
What chemical was that you were using exactly?
sealer, concrete sealer.
This is concrete seal, alright.
You can't drink it. I'll tell you what. You just gotta inhale it. So yeah, this is a rock. I don't know how. Even in Clinton, like when I told him, like probably last month when you saw it, he could not believe that it was real. Like it was fake. And obviously we got Neville's got some yellow ones. It's got some red ones. There's yellow rocks. Looks like more. What's on that?
Sandstone.
Sandstone.
Sandstones. Yeah. The red ones. Yeah.
So the tint you said you put on it, that's on the
And when you mix it in the resin,
In the
yeah,
resin, yeah.
and the hardener, epoxy hardener, and the resin, yeah. The
You
thing
go
is,
to-
you need just like a match head in it. So you put it in a cup, and you put. See, the previous tent that we had, we used to use 3 to 1, 3 resin and 1 hardener, and it was 30-minute we had 30 minutes, was it? The time, yeah. But now we're using 1-to-1, and
You've
it
got
takes
about 20 minutes.
yeah, you got about 20 minutes to just it gets hot straight away. So that's why you got to do it in sections. So two of us, we get, like, so we start in this section, we painted every nooks and crannies, and then we already had pre-mixed like sand and pebbles. You just throw it. Neville didn't want pebbles on this one. I can't see any pebbles. Oh, he did a little bit. So mix it, just keep throwing it in it. Just keep throwing it. Take it off. Just throw it and sticks to it, and then we start the next section.
You go to your $2 shop and buy a dozen paintbrushes.
Yeah, you just buy it. Yeah, you buy it.
Because you just throw them out. You can't reuse them.
Yeah.
So
We learned the hard way once. We mixed too much hardener, and I'm holding it, trying to brush it. Goes, I gotta let go. It just started to burn. It got so hot, it started to smoke. It melted the cup that was in. Put too much hardener on it.
anyway,
This is it.
That's-
Yeah.
Any weight restrictions, or what's the limit you can take
For what?
the trees?
Oh,
Just any
look,
weight?
with these one, I highly recommend don't put fig in it. Figs, because figs intend when you put root over rock, fig intend to like squeeze. And if you got like Chinese, like Neville had Kunzia, they intend to latch on and widen out. They expands out, not in. So the roots will grab on it. They expand. Even the try the maples do the same thing. They latch onto it, but they just expands out. Like that's why if you saw Clinton's try to maple on his rock, it looked like it's actually melted into the rock. I've got one as well, so it looks like it's actually melting into the rock. Figs, they squeeze. The more they. We had a tree. We had a fig one day. Had a rock in it, and probably even Chris knows, he's got some of them too. Just over a few years, the rock just disappears. Yeah, the fig just swallows it. Imagine with these, they're strong, but they're brittle. Yeah, they just crush it. But if you got like Chinese elm, trident maple, Kunzias, native loves it. They just latch onto it. Yeah, especially if you got so many like things to latch onto.
You use your normal mix as well.
Yeah.
yeah.
But we use with these kind of stuff. We use a lot of muck as well, just to hold them in place, and then start covering them with normal moss, green moss.
James, when you use rocks, the best rocks are porous rocks.
Yeah.
Now, these aren't porous, so I know you use muck, but how do you account for the trees clinging to the rock when they're not porous?
The rock's not porous.
Yeah.
That's why we created these pockets here, John. So if you come and have a look, every one stem has got a hole in it. So when you create where the trees need to go, you almost makes like a channel or something to go. See, there's a tree will go here.
Right.
A tree will go here. You can see there's holes through that.
So you're deliberately getting the roots to grow down
Yeah,
there to hold
that's
the
it.
tree.
Yeah, that's why we've actually made the tray.
Right.
So that's why we make that tray. There's no holes in it, so there's water. So if it dries out, even if what's that dries out, so what you usually do is, you know what trees always, especially native, they always go where the water bank is. There's always search the roots. So that actually you're forcing the roots to grow quicker and hold on to the rock quicker. Yeah. So that's the whole idea of the design. You get when you see the tree, you got the trees. I said, well, I'm going to design that tree. I want to set it in. I'll create a pocket for it, but at the same time, you just got to remember either you got to create a channel for the roots to run down to the water, or you create a hole. So when you water it, it just runs through it. Yeah. Yeah. There you go.
If anyone's interested in this fiberglass technique, I have some questions for Ingrid when she comes in a couple of months' time, because she also makes fiberglass
She makes
rocks
fiberglass as
and
well,
pots,
doesn't she?
more pots than rocks.
Right, yeah.
So she's pretty cluey out it
Yeah.
as well. So
See, I mean, there's lots of people. I know there's a woman up in Queensland.
She uses chicken wire.
She uses chicken wire and carpet glue.
And what?
Carpet glue.
Carpet is, yeah.
And that's where I first read about it. But I tried it once, but I wasn't very good shaping chicken wire.
It's a nightmare trying to shape it, but yeah.
So
You
then
can recreate the
we
natural
actually
erosion a bit more with the
were
fire.
buying some trees from a guy who was making his own rocks.
Yeah.
And he gave us a couple of lessons.
And then we took it off from
And
there
then
and
we
started
took it on.
modifying it. myself a bit more.
Yeah, and then it's just been
a
trialing.
better wire would be an art supply wire because they can get sheets of that.
No, she was using actual chicken wire.
Chicken wire, yeah. It's hard
And
to-
apparently somebody, there was a guy from New Zealand, the AABC convention, also
using chicken wire.
did something with chicken wire
Yeah.
I mean, the last one
in Brisbane.
Brisbane.
Yeah, because I remember Lee sending me a text saying, I'm sitting here watching this guy jump up and down on chicken wire, I'm not sure what's happening.
You can, if you're using chicken wire, you can also use cement products, but
Yeah.
you end up
Yeah.
with a rock heavier
Yeah.
than the
Yeah,
normal
yeah,
rock.
that's it. That's
yeah.
right. Even with that cup, I did one years and years ago before I started doing these. Well, I was trial and I put a Chinese elm on it. It was a tall one, and it was just in the pot, buried halfway. So I exposed it. The roots are really nice, 2 long roots, but the rock's crap. It looks like a bloody just kid's play made out of bloody
Plasticine.
Play-Doh. Yeah. So I thought, no, and then we made one not long ago, and I went through the process again, burying it, because I utilised those 2 roots, one from the front, one from the back. So I utilised those 2 roots and designed my rock to those roots to sit in there, and I put some eyelet in it to tie it a bit more, to jam it into that little channel that I created. And same thing with Clint Niski did. We just stuffed it up with moss and glad wrapped it, and went back again in plastic pot for another 15, 20 years. No, just joking. Probably another 2 years. Yeah.
How did you fix the eyelets into that?
You do it before you put the resin in.
You do it before you do it.
So they're a bit wobbly when you come to do
Yeah.
putting the resin on. You just try and hold them in
So you
place.
just
So
insert.
effectively the resin is holding them in place.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
the resin that's holding them. I mean, I did do one where I forgot to put the eyelets in, and I got a very, very fine drill and drilled through the resin and then screwed the eyelets into it. But it's not as good as putting it in.
We should have done. Should have put it on hard nine. What's name? Just insert it there straight away to solidify. Yeah.
So there you go.
Thank
I'll
you.
leave it up.
We'll leave them here for people to come and have a look
Yeah.
at.
Just remember, this is very fresh.
If anyone smokes, anyone wants to light it? Not.
A real smoker enthusiast, like.
Yeah.
I was saying to Neville earlier that there are some of the trees in the National
wanna come out to
Bonsai
the-
Pension Collection in Canberra on artificial rock.
Do any table blocks?
I had the impression that they were fiberglass based, but I don't know where I got that impression from. I don't know whether I asked somebody there or
I think the
what.
fiberglass
very
might be just a
lightweight.
little bit expensive to buy fiberglass. A little bit more, I don't know, maybe a little bit more.
You might have trouble shaping them.
Oh, that's just, what's expensive
You
is
probably
that
won't
buy
get
5
as distinct shape.
resin. And it lasts you for God knows how many rocks, 20, 30 rocks. Yeah.
And then a 2-litre bottle behind.
Roughly how much is that?
It's about $100 worth.
Yeah, so it's not dirt cheap.
It's not dirty.
No.
But you can use it on multiple.
Yeah, you can make
Yeah.
some. I mean, we make, this is the second batch that we got. God, we make probably over 25
The oldies are
rocks.
back.
That's not bad. $5 a rock.
They send them all out to attack
they're not-
them. Kevin Waller used to send them all
And
out.
they're not small rocks. They're big.
Anyway, Clinton is fool. If you can fool Clinton, you can fool anybody.
Yeah.
Actually, like, you could use that if you've got a tree where the root's not stuck properly to the rock. You could probably put some of that stuff in and make it look as like a rock
Yeah.
to fill up the hole.
Yeah, the last chart. See, it really looks good, but when you add the tree and the green of it, what's not actually, it just integrates really well, and visually, it looks much deceiving than it is now. So the thing, if you don't add sand and pebbles, it's so shiny. It's like it glows. It looks really fake. It looks like plastic.
All the sand and that gives you the texture.
Yeah, it takes that glossiness away from it.
Well, once more, thanks guys. I thought that was really good. did say that the workshop would be a wiring workshop, which is really good, because I can see potential trees to work on, but I can't see any wire. But before we do that, why don't we go down the display trees? Normal thing is the person who owns the tree just come out and say a couple of words about how they got to where they are. So let's start at that end. Who's first tree?
It's my tree.
Ed, good to hear from you.
All right. So I bought a little fig. It's maybe not the twistiest tree, but it was light and easy for me to carry. So that was my selection criteria. What's that?
They got to sell you a pot.
Yeah. This is the first bonsai I ever bought. I believe it's actually older than you might think. So I don't know for sure, but the guy who sold it to me said it was probably getting close to 30 years. I don't know if that's true, but I'm going to assume that he was telling the truth. Because it was kind of the first tree I ever bought, it's taken me a long time to get it to this point. I've been quite slow and methodical about it. I spent a lot of time trying to get my branching right, so going from the main trunk into 2 into 4. It's finally at a point where I think I can start defoliating it and working on ramification, getting the leaf size down. Yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say. But yeah, it's a lot bigger than
Thanks, Ed. And good to see you back. Just before we hear from the next tree, which I have to say is a very early bloomer, Camilla has gone, but she just texted me to say she's lost her credit card. Has anybody picked up a credit card? I think she was sitting over at this table, but I'm not positive.
Well, where did she use it last?
She didn't give me all those details, and she didn't give me a pass number. Pass number. Anyway, if anybody finds that card, sing out. I'll let her know. Whose is the blossom? Simon, I could have guessed.
It's my cherry blossom.
Just that I felt.
What do you want to know? I got the tree from Curtis Smythe, which used to be the president of Bonsai Society of Sydney. I didn't know that. I just rocked up to his house.
Stole and walked away.
He had a ton of trees for sale, and this was one of these trees, and it was a cherry blossom. And you don't find a bend like that on cherry blossoms. Like, I would like my bark to be like the old bark, like everyone else's, but happy with that. Give it another 30 years.
Looks good.
Any questions?
You selling it?
No. If I had something better, I would, but no, I haven't found anything better.
What are your styling ideas that you've got?
The styling idea was to use as many branches as possible, because there's not that many, styling wise, having 2 branches coming out parallel at the bottom here, you shouldn't have that, but there's not much I can do with, I wanted everything. All I'm doing is just pruning after flowering every year, that's it.
Is this end of flowering or?
No, this is start.
Starting.
Yeah. So I've got pictures on my Facebook where it's in full bloom right now, last year.
Is there a reason for the pot being so deep?
It's just the style of the pot. It's a fan pot. So initially I wanted to put this into a fan pot because it has branches coming down like that. But I don't know, I just thought it looked pretty aesthetic. So
Yeah. It looks great.
any other questions?
That's okay, I'll buy it. It's all right. You don't have to convince me.
Alright, thanks guys.
Thank you. I'll buy it.
You must live in a very warm area, because you had some quince flowers on Facebook.
That's my jacaranda. Yep. And the interesting thing about these is you get a new tree every year. Because this will all sprout up and then you cut it all back. So you can see where it's been cut back, 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 cut back. So,
What is it, Chris?
jacaranda. So, I used to have another trunk down here, but that disappeared. So it's quite an interesting little thing. It just mutated itself. I didn't really do it. All the bare patches around there were done with by a some rodent, either a rat or a possum. Came out one day and he'd taken half the bark off half the tree. Made a feature of it. Probably 15 years or something like that. But with the jacaranda, you have to keep on to them because they'll sprout and then they'll take off. And those shoots will just go whoosh. So you don't let that happen. You keep nipping the bud out and nipping the centre bit out of them, and you can get the sprays to actually be quite compact. But if you leave them for maybe 2 weeks, you lost it. It'll be this long, and then it doesn't look good after that. This is also mine, which is a little bit unusual. It's a Boston ivy. It's a vine, but if you keep cutting it back, you can actually get it to look like a little tree. So I got that off a guy who was getting rid of his stuff. So I don't know how old it is, but I've had it for about 6 years or that. If you let these go, they'll be out here somewhere. But keep chopping it back and you make a little tree out of it. So it's just a different variation on a theme. So it doesn't have to be a tree, it can be a vine. And this is a crab apple. And it just keeps dying on me, but then comes back. So bits of it just drop off and die and then grows out here, and this bit drops off and grows out there, and this bit drops off. And over the years, that's where it's gone. So it got trimmed off this year. Maybe I should have cut it a bit lower. But again, I'm not sure where it's going to sprout. Certainly sprout from here, but whether it puts something back here, I don't know. But again, they'll go whoosh really quick. So when they get about that long, maybe start nipping the top out of them, and you can keep the leaves small and get them compact. But this will lead up with a little ball of fluff here, and it flowers. And if any
trunks all died, Chris?
Sorry?
The trunks on those branches.
They're all dead.
They're dead?
Yep. They'll going fine and then just decided not to go fine anymore and just died. But it keeps itself going. There's enough bark there, and well, we'll see. See in a couple of months what it looks like. But yeah, if anyone wants a flowering cherry, I got one that I'm trying to give away. It's not got all this fancy stuff happening, but if you want just a basic tree, I've got one that I'm trying to get rid of.
You've always
Well, I'll show you the photo if you're interested in it.
Yeah.
And it's starting to flower now.
Yeah.
Big, but it was covered in fig rust or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's quite young, but a bit twisty.
Was this a Melaleuca?
Yeah, it's a Melaleuca linifolia, I think. or something.
Linifolia, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I pruned it down and brought it in.
And you've got it tied down to pull it over.
Yeah, it's pulling it down because it wants to grow straight up. It's always shooting out new shoots all over the place. But the roots are kind of exposed, it's nice. It's on its way. 1 year. From tube stock as well, so. But I pulled the roots right out of the soil and I've repotted it twice already. So, yeah, it's good. It's a hardy tree, it's a good one.
Someone told me mine's a Chinese L. Because I'm hopeless, I never know what I've got. And I think I bought it from here, and it was already all nicely curved. And I'm not sure what I should be doing to it now, probably trimming it or something, but yeah.
I thought I recognised it, but yeah, now that you say it. Well,
I don't even know when I got it.
It was one that we bought from the nursery, Bonsai World about 18 months ago. And that was one of them.
Okay, yeah, and that was a few, and you don't take the stuff. Yeah, it's quite cute. I just don't want that one. How to trim it.
Thanks, Grace. Who's next? What is it?
About to say, it looks like Neville. You can almost tell what tree.
Neville, I'm sure.
You look at the tree.
This is a claret top. I bought it 5-6 years ago on Oz Bonsai sale, and it was basically just slightly advanced tube stock, but it already had some of this movement in it, and I've just let it grow and accentuated it a little bit, but I've done very little as far as shaping it. I've let the tree grow naturally.
So you're saying, was that shape when you bought it?
It had some twists in it, and I did do some initial wiring once I got it out of the tube stock advanced pot, and then I basically got some shape and I thought, oh God, I'm just going to leave it, and I just like it.
Very nice.
That's it.
Thanks, Neville.
Oh, it's yours. I didn't see that little one.
Alright, little green runners. It's an Enricia rigida, which is a lilac cat. I bought it about a month ago at the what's it called? School of Bonsai sale. When I bought it, no one there actually knew what it was. So I took it around to probably 20 different people. No one knew what it was. It actually didn't have any leaves at that point. And I ended up going up to Ray Neski's because apparently it had been sold from him, and he just saw it and went, yeah, it's this. So apparently it gets purple flowers. So I'm actually looking for a yellow pot, like a circle yellow pot. If anyone finds one or has one, it's quite rare. The pot that it's in right now, I just repotted it about 2 weeks ago. It's actually by Brian, and he one of his handmade pots. So, yeah, there's a few plans for it to improve the taper, but it's cute. Yeah.
Your turn, James.
9 years ago, and saw these trees, and I was so interested on it, but I wasn't really that confident to buy a tree of this caliber. So we were driving back, me and Neville, and I said to Neville, can you ring Sue? Because I didn't know Sue. I knew her from the club, I didn't know her that well. Because can you ring Sue? Because she was sitting in the sale table. And I asked her if that tree is hers, Sue Brenner. And Neville rang her, he goes, yeah, it's my tree. He goes, oh, well, I said to her, well, tell her to keep it. So I really like this tree because it's Sue's Brenner, so I still have it. I neglected it for the last 4 years. I haven't touched it. It's the only things I got cold feet for it. I'll put it in a pot. I'll really put it in a nice pot. The last pot was Japanese. I said that was a round pot. Either the wind blows it and breaks the pot, or people knocks it off the bench. Like the last really pot I put it on, it was my niece walked past it and knocked it off the website. And it's struggling. I can see it a little bit because I've neglected it. Sometimes I even forget to fertilize it. There's a lot of, the reason it's like twisted, and there's a lot of branches like need to go. Ahmed was saying to me, I've got to take this branch, as I was looking at it from what's name, I might actually grow it, thicken it up, but bend it forward and gin it on top. So I've got two options, maybe gin a couple of these ones and get rid of that one too, but twist it on top so I can have the gin actually coming out from the top of it. Yeah, but the tree has a little sentimental value because it's Sue's. I've got a couple of Sue's trees. I should be looking after it actually a bit more. But when you got over 125 trees, who do you get? Who are you going to satisfy? Who are you going to look after? Yeah. So it's a nice tree. It's an old, very old tree, and I hope I can keep it alive. Yeah.
You know what sort of
It's cucumbers.
Okay. Well, we did say wiring workshop, so this part is the wiring workshop.
I missed that bit.
Well,
Yeah. All right. It's on the beach. So now we can fit 2 cars. And I was saying sometimes we're going to take
Alex, you
Bill.
want a treat?
At least a chair and a coffee. Because if I used to park a car here, there's no room.